Hello, Happy New Year. It's January 2nd, 2025. This is songwriter Stan Becker reporting from Hunter Biden open border, Venice, California, where President Newsom is initiating some pretty interesting sanctuary city civil invasion moves. In Hunter Biden open border Venice. Of course, they dropped him here. It's been my heartbreaking duty to work a lot of shifts since the year turned. I need to tell you about my personal history with Soledad Romero Ursua, former state senator Gloria Romero's daughter. When she came to Venice, under what circumstances, the Snapchat thing, because context is extremely important. She and her mom, after Soledad Ursua established her on the Venice Neighborhood Council, where I've had personal contact with her and that council so many times over the years, very, very reluctantly. We're going to have to go council member by council member where it's extremely relevant in terms of the Linda Lux, Ira Koslow, now Brian Averill puppet show that Soledad was part of, and will show you in her own emails, in her own words. Those Venice Neighborhood Council meetings aren't memorialized in the entertainment capital of the world. The most visited spot in the wildly beautiful, expansive state of California. Breadbasket of the nation up to Monterey Bay. Wow, for a Steinbeck fan. Redwoods, gorgeous. Los Angeles County. Second behind Disneyland, Venice, California, where they brought Hunter here. My personal story with being targeted because of my background as a reporter and a journalist, as well as a motion picture movie grip. It happens if you're from the northern New England mountains, as I was for 10 years. You see a lot of guys from MIT that are pretty brilliant and pretty smart and pretty known in a pretty exclusive peer group that are making kinetic sculptures and writing wild poetry in the northern New Hampshire and Vermont mountains. And I covered some of them as a reporter, so I've had an interesting iconoclastic approach to that. Always just trying to get recording studio time. Interestingly, Alik Skukovsky, Beach Bubbles, I think she calls herself, was one of the people on the Venice Neighborhood Council, also dealing with BLMA, LA Can, Becky Dennison, Venice Community Housing Corporation, where Linda Lux, president of Venice Neighborhood Council, was also on the payroll of Venice Neighborhood Council founder Steve Clare, but actually it's a shell company. It's actually Hollywood Community Housing Corporation. Lately, Community Corporation of Santa Monica. Every time you see a community, that's the target for the activists to destroy through division, deception, demoralization. What was our established police force is gone. We have some very, very, very great rank and file. I'll always protect just because of the nature of responsibility in a place where BLM, LA can, Drug House Becky Dennison, Horizon Apartments LLC, the CEO for Steve Clare's Venice Community Housing Corporation, and 3 people were responsible directly for Horizon Apartments LLC to even be an issue. And that was felon Carl Lambert Investments, Venice V Hotel, Venice Breeze Suites, 4 or 5 buildings, controlled the Morrison Hotel, sold the Horizon Apartments LLC back to himself and his partner Steve Clare through his other partner, Crack House Jack V. Hoffman, Market Street. And these guys, I've known them for 4 decades, started talking about dynamic change in the press they control. There was going to be a new renaissance, and boy, there sure was. Soledad Ursua, a Fox News business analyst and now reporting for Katie Grimes' California Globe, who had amazing things to say about just 1 minute that I was given before a commercial break on air, on KABC Talk Radio Air. And also Dr. Pinsky's response, Leanne Tweeden's response, Larry O'Connor, I called him when Soledad was on air. She's protecting BLM, LA Can, Drug House, Becky Dennison. There's been vicious violence. Gloria coming into the puppet show now with a foundation, and Steve Hilton from Hungary, from Britain via Hungary as the next gubernatorial candidate, getting all that money. Soledad's on TV. It's not only corrupt, it's disgusting. It's dishonest. It's illegal for the people that she's been protecting to use mob riot violence during Eric Garcetti's peaceful riots that were fire bombings and a series of deaths of seniors, like in a 10-day period, and that's just in a 10-day period. So Myth Mike Bonin, very useful idiot, also a partner in all these deals, and they control Yo Venice, the Argonaut, Venice Current into Westside Current into the Valley Current, from Jamie Page, Venice Neighborhood Council. In comes Dumpy Downey lawyer Tracy Park, desperate for a makeover or some kind of career in donor class. Loyola Marymount. Felon Carl Lambert to the rescue, because councilwomen are cheap. I mean, it's a couple of $100,000 to a makeover guy who brags about it. That's what he does. Myth Mike Bonin, married to some guy that's a digital marketer. Check out the digital marketer media salaries at St. Joseph's. Check out how St. Joseph's began, the genesis of that. On this spot in Venice, because some of us senior citizen whistleblowers, I'll get back to Alik Skukowski, censored blacklists and artists. The most viewed independent, unsigned, unaffiliated singer-songwriter in world-famous Venice history gets attacked from the back in front of a St. Joseph's case manager under a camera that Soledad Ursua promised us in 2019 would show up. in the materials after her FOIA report. So for these race-baiting racists, I just saw a person who's a dear friend of mine, it triggers me to remember the Hispanic women that I worked with and knew, and work with a women's church group week after week after week after week. I was just there. The Horizon Rest rape rooms are there. They're infamous. Forget about my charming personality, because when you're gaslighted, there's all kinds of crap about you in their corrupted system, put there by real criminals, and you can never be safe for the rest of your life unless you got their kind of money. And they know that, and that's the threat. And that's why when an FBI guy pops up out of there, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of you. There's a lot of FBI and Secret Service fans around my 20-year-old van when they brought Hunter Biden here, and all of a sudden, Mark Zuckerberg was my high school principal. People I still don't know the name of would erase stuff right in the middle of a post if I mentioned my history, being 12 years old when JFK was shot. And never. I studied child psychology and early childhood education, I was sort of raised because of circumstances of my older brother, may God rest his soul, orthopedic surgical history, raised by wonderful cousins, raised by kids and big families in the 50s, you know, especially Jews and Italians, and that's what it all was in the same family. You get raised by your cousins, and as soon as you're this big, you have to take care of somebody that big. So I extrapolated. But this race baiting is really disgusting, because they're not only, I don't want to talk about that woman right now, and Tom the rapist right now, who's out there right now. Tracy. And what he did at Becky Dennison's Horizon Apartments, and what Soledad Sue knows he did to a Hispanic young woman. After my attack and concussions and my own journey through being subjected to what St. Joseph's, in coordination with BLM, LA canned Pete White. Now remember, this was busted. That was buy larger mansions in Topanga Canyon. It was a trick. That's why 8 counties outside of Los Angeles that went for Obama. And Biden, last time, 8 counties won't swell that red, and Newsom is going to term out. And Soledad, who is a criminal who should be served. And we're going to look into that. So her mommy blocks me a year or 2 ago, and Soledad blocks me. It's impossible to get more than a minute at the Venice Neighborhood Council, in the heart of the entertainment industry. How many nonprofits are in 90291 Venice, California, and surrounding Santa Monica? Wise and healthy aging, and all of them step up on second. The People's Concern, all those West Side Coalition, and more and more and more. Luskin, UCLA Med, patient drops, as well as Gloria Romero Prop 47 prison drops. Hey, Steve Hilton, I'm really trying hard to be respectful, because you're a man of great influence. You've had a successful career, and I'm a homeless guy. looking and feeling crazy. You know, because if you're a rock and roll singer and you've got all these songs, it's actually a wayward compliment what they've done to Trash Sessions when I try to start up after receiving an infection and a inpatient hospitalization at UCLA. All within the people that are going to give you permanent supportive housing, which is very temporary. Wraparound services, which wraps you up into a Biederman coercion chart paradigm that is a technology, actually, of abuse, well known not only by professional fundraisers, but by demons like Dirty Roger Mahoney, Meth Mike Bonin, Venice Neighborhood Council, St. Joseph's Homeless Center. Felon Carl Lambert, Steve Clare, Jack V. Hoffman, real estate agent, 3 Streets. All Lambert control. Big camera out there during the very genesis of the historic meth camp. AOC was right here, another person really concerned about Hispanics. So concerned, Carl Lambert had busloads of Loyola Marymount people and surrounding churches with young kids not knowing because of the concert nature and the superstar nature of a young woman in a red dress with red high heels. Yet she smelled good. She brushed right past me because I was in a special session in the press because it was a Bernie rally and Meth Mike Bonner, and suddenly all those filthy human excrement, open, crack smoking, prison drop, Gloria Romero, Prop 47, prison drop, right here, clean, like San Francisco when the Chinese president, is it, came, and Newsom said, well, when you have company. So hopefully you realize that Rand, which is right here, they done stuff to make sure I couldn't survive this, and they'll continue to do things to make sure my voice is as quashed as the many dead, so dead, the many dead at Horizon Apartments LLC, including some white women that were Jewish. So welcome to Tracy Park Diversity, and a Christian woman, and they were both friends of mine, and they both got in on merit, not race-baiting stuff, not the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's a 20-unit building. And when we unpack that information, and it's traumatic, this was my 6th homeless, Hanukkah and Christmas. There used to be Liberty Hill Foundation, Gary Stewart, Abby Sher, Edgemar catastrophe, where I used to live in Dogtown, Ocean Park, right over the border, into Linda Lux, Venice Neighborhood Council land. They don't like it if you show up at a Santa Monica City Council meeting. You might end up getting roughed up by Sergeant Slaughter, actually. I mean, maybe I was put here for a reason, because the excruciating synchronicity continues when you consider that Mary Klein, Venice Canals, face-breaking, heartbreaking, rape. The same night, another woman, European woman, visitor with hopes of relocating, was similarly beaten so bad that she was brain dead. We couldn't find out anything about the perpetrator or that victim for a month when they finally couldn't deny that she was dead. And the real cops, and God bless them, I know them because I want to go back to meeting AOC very, very briefly. I had been a reporter for the Caledonian Record, actually founded in the 19th century and still in print in the North Country, based in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, but I lived over the river in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, and went to Franconia College. Though I was born in Brooklyn, I was in love with nature and animals and horses. And there was a guy, an old man in the mountains, who was younger than I am now by 12 years, John O'Shaughnessy, who taught me, mostly by handing me a shovel at first. And so I understand the North Country. When we made a demo, and Ramon's producer was kind enough to get us out here for a record deal that didn't work out. I got real jobs. One of them was Rhino Records when it was a small indie. And it was a great opportunity. And I hope to talk about all the positive, wonderful, funny, comic, wild things about that very, very small staff. It's now the premier and deserves to be archival label in the world, a Warner Brothers company. But Gary, had a very giving heart, as did I. I worked the first comic relief with Robin Williams and Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, because Richard Foos, who owned Rhino Records at the time, told me, listen, call Bob Samuda, do anything you can for him. Prioritize this. This is important. And so when Whoopi came here to give that $1 million to Venice Family Clinic, and Chuck Lorre, crack adult producer, king of sitcom with 2.5 Men, and before that, Dharma and Greg, I rigged that set as a motion picture studio rigging grip. People don't understand what that is, nor respect it, because there are also levels of grip, but as an in-house motion picture studio grip. And for that, you walked around with a wrecking bar and 50 or 60 feet a 1/4 inch with a clip that you unwove that line and installed yourself, because it was going to be carrying a lot of weight, and braces you were going to nail together and drop scaffolding down from those ancient permanent beams and those big barns exactly over the set walls by a half a link, so we could install the ceiling pieces. There's a lot of dangers for me to be run over by a drunk teamster on crack, infamously famous crack adult Chuck Lorre set is another example of excruciating synchronicity. 5 orthopedic surgeries, a risk management agency calling me a malingerer, and their own doctor after how many depositions coming up with the same stuff. Well, there was going to be irreparable damage, but now it is irreparable damage. So I'm not complaining because I'm so gifted. My new songs are so beautiful. I'm so far away ahead of where the blessing of People are still listening to Good God Almighty Buffalo to Venice Beach, 300,000. Get it quick because they keep on decreasing my views by tens of thousands on certain songs. It's okay. Everything's not monetized anywhere. What way? Doesn't matter. What matters is that these characters were concerned about these issues, and the very criminals mentioned and pictured in them. Nothing profane or dirty was reported and removed. They won't let me make a living. They won't let me perform. They crash studio sessions. God bless John Davis. Rest his soul. He passed away since developing a beautiful and blessed and unexpected relationship with me, understanding what was happening in Los Angeles. Jimmy Page is remastering engineer for all of Led Zeppelin's catalog, not to mention a working mastering engineer on the highest professional level for a range of great British artists in various genres. So, the woman I met today, I said, they're bringing this national stuff to me. They're pushing this guy from Hungary who did something in British and is a Fox TV star. And Soledad's got a job on Fox, and Katie Grimes, who knows better, giving her on the cracked criminal. These people need to be subpoenaed. And they choke you. They don't let people speak for more than a minute, and those meetings are memorialized in the second most visited spot in Venice. They don't have to care because people who come here don't live here. And from other parts of the city, and they're so welcome and so welcome, But what is socially engineered and from all over the world, and they're treated with such grace. I'm so proud of my country. There's no flag up there. It's different levels to President Newsom's socially engineered homeless housing into shelter housing into affordable housing where criminal lawfare white developers, and nobody's whiter than Gloria Romero, unfortunately, because the woman I told about that, she immediately said, and I said, Soledad's got a job on Fox News. BLM LA. Indigenous man dies in that building. I can't get Soledad to do anything but stare. And that's on too many videos. So these criminals need to be dealt with. We've already got a criminal as governor. So, he thinks he's president. We'll see. We'll see. I'm telling you, RAND is not a nonprofit. They're right here. Google, thank you for reinstating mean and restless, building back a better new normal. But those comments were gone for 2 or 3 years in historic momentum. Yeah, I was talking about Gary Stewart. It's hard for me because I've been homeless a long time and there's trauma after trauma. Because Gary Stewart committed a public suicide right opposite Santa Monica Superior Court, where our version of Fannie Willis, Bobby Willis, B-O-B-B-I, Bobby Tillman, T-I-L-M-A-N, Judge Bobby Tillman was evicting me without benefit a lawyer, nor after an arduous months and months and months of Steve Clare lawyers spending tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands to make sure I was homeless after how many injuries, surgeries, ambulances, emergency rooms, crippling injuries purposefully, names, dates, videos, and I'm one of the lucky ones. because Lafoy was stabbed from here to here, and then he had broken bones. And Keith is dead, and Daryl is dead. Christopher is dead. And a guy who's drunk every day out there in the streets, the police had to come because he sometimes wields a knife. Right by the Horizon Rest Rape Rooms has his apartment, as does another person who went to jail for violence for 6 months, and they kept his apartment open. So this isn't about me. Well, I guess it is, because they made the message the messenger. And what they've done to finish me completely, including the infection at UCLA that killed people. There was a class action suit about it. There's a certain class on those Barry Obama HMOs that are sitting ducks for research hospitals, tricks, and experimentations, and unnecessary tests and treatments, and the implementation of infections on dates after an infection that was known to be a critical infection was discovered and printed about. So I started asking for records because of my background as a reporter, which I didn't want to be, but I started writing press releases. We just had a few people at Rhino Records, got some people on TV, and bing, bang, boom. Then I wanted to just get an hourly job that paid something instead of, in a salary, and work 80 hours a week and get a number one and still, make shit. And so I got a job in the movie business, and, got hurt on Chuck's set. So how excruciating synchronicity is that compared to the fact that Mary Klein, the woman that face got broken, she got raped, and she took the cover picture of my digital single Mockingbird Sings, 2S Mockingbird Sings, on Stan Becker's song. She took that still picture of me because I try to. I'm not in shape anymore. That's another story. Come out before dawn, and work on my songs. And get out of that building, get out of that blood pool building, all the deaths, all the violence, all the several hundreds of LAPD individual deployments. Old that Asua, shut her mouth. Rapes, beatings, territorial drug house prostitution, open access. They fuck with your mail. Pedro the pervert and Sidney Zamora, the sexual assaulter, video stalker, has the keys to your apartment. And they say you're service resistant. You have strict rules. Yeah. Don't psychosexually bludgeon me in the dick inside of the last apartment I had on life because you work for Becky Dennison. And then when that's busted to the cops, you find out he's working for St. Joseph's. How do you? Because it's all the same criminal trick. Now they found 50 million, now then 215 more million, and they're into the billions about this Newsom thing and the homeless. He knows where it went to expand a vicious, purposefully manipulated subculture. That's what that AOC Bernie rally was all about. All of a sudden, Venice was a TV show. It was the Meth Mike Bonin TV show. And He got paid off by Dirty Roger Mahoney because St. Joseph's Homeless Center was one residential lot, not a huge fenced off security compound with FEMA offices during the worst disaster you can imagine, including our CVS getting fire burned twice. Right here, the bid trucks, explosions, two of them, arson felonies. No LAFD response. A million. That union, donates to Tracy Park. She has a million pancake photo ops. They don't show up for that because it's that dirty and it's been that obvious for this long. Machine gun shootings all of the Bank of America. Their foundation gives money to St. Joseph's. You got to pay off Dirty Roger Mahoney. Pedophile protection racket because in '05, Dirty Roger Mahoney was losing in a very disgraceful manner. If you'll research what Cardinal Gomez had to say about the brutal nature of his deception and the effect that it had on children and their parents for generations and generations. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ching, ching. Parasites work on dysfunction. So we're going to get all that West Side Coalition together with Gloria Romero, because that Hispanic friend I told today is a working woman. And I told her, well, yeah, Gloria's got a candidate for governor, and she immediately mentioned two different Hispanic political names that I'm very familiar with, and I mentioned another. And I said, no, it's Steve Hilton, the guy who has a TV show on Fox. And she went, I've known her for years. She's a really hardworking woman of dignity. And she went, I know what you're talking about. I was sex trafficked, she told me. And, I see her frequently. I've known her over the years. I don't want to do any of this. I'm 73. I got this much time left, if any. I'm very proud that they worked so hard to keep me, from recording, to restrict me, shadow ban me, make it impossible for me to work, make it impossible for me to get a data entry job at the rec center when no one else wanted to work. I've been homeless since a year before Election Day 2020. I didn't expect to come back here, and I didn't expect to get into a recording studio up north in Sonoma County where the police had to come before I was done with my 3 hours. And I called them because I wanted to make sure that, in the land of the free. So mean and restless, building back a better normal, good God Almighty. It really, I'm a songwriter. That shit was written and recorded. So I'm on to the next thing. I'm pissed off. I'm heartbroken. I'm sick.